Number 1. When I was 15 years old, I started a live journal account. At the time, a lot of my friends were also using the platform. It was basically early social networking, where people with similar interests would come together and read each other's blogs. I had only been posting for a short while when a guy began to comment on my entries. He said his name was John. It really should have made me more suspicious that there was a grown man trying to reach out to me through the internet. He claimed that he knew my friend Dale, who was 2 years older than me. We attended the same high school. I contacted Dale and asked him about John, to which he replied, "Oh yeah, John's awesome. We met on LiveJournal." He talked the guy up like he was super cool, and I should totally interact with him. John continued to leave comments on my journal frequently, but in addition to that, he began to email me. One of the first things he sent me was a screenshot of his computer desktop, where he had assembled a collage of pictures of me he had copied from my LiveJournal account, which made me super uncomfortable. I told Dale about it, but he just laughed it off, saying that John was just fucking with me. I decided to let it slide because I trusted Dale. After about a year of awkward emails from John, a woman named Jillian contacted me who claimed to be John's sister. There was some fucked up convoluted story about how they weren't actually siblings, but they were raised together. I can't really remember all the details, but she began to send me extremely vicious messages, followed up almost immediately after by apology messages where she would talk to me like I was a puppy, saying cutesy shit like how darling and precious I was. After about a week, I began to suspect that Jillian didn't exist and was created by John to further harass me, or something to make himself look better. Shortly after that, John began sending me interracial porn and made extremely racist comments about them. That was enough for me, and I blocked both him and Jillian. In retrospect, it was right about then that I should have filed a police report. John eventually found a way to contact me with another email address. I'm not sure how. Maybe Dale told him. He tried to apologize for his behavior, but I just ignored him. I had had enough of this craziness. Around this time, Dale moved to another city with 2 of our mutual friends, one of whom I've kept contact with. He warned me that Dale and John started talking a lot on the phone, and he suspected that John was supplying Dale with pot because Dale had started smoking constantly. The idea that Dale and John were becoming so close made me very uneasy, because Dale knew my home address, phone number, and all kinds of other personal information. Shortly after, my discomfort was validated when I received an email from John stating that he was visiting my hometown soon and intended to swing by. I emailed him back and told him that if he ever contacted me again, that I would go straight to the police and press charges against him for harassment, as I had saved every email I ever got from him or Jillian. Shortly after, I received a call from Dale's roommate, who told me that Dale had received a call from John, who was enraged after I had sent him that email. I decided that I had to cut Dale out of my life as well. He had become untrustworthy and was letting his own life fall apart. All he ever did was smoke pot and play video games, mooching off his roommates and other friends for money and food. After a few months, his roommates kicked him out after an incident occurred at their apartment, where someone had tried to break down the door looking for Dale, who owed him money. Apparently having nowhere else to go, Dale moved in with John, who turned out to be a 50-something-year-old trucker who didn't have a sister named Jillian. And it turned out that John wasn't even his real name. As far as I know, they're still living together. To this day, I still have no idea what motivated John to keep contacting me. I just know I dodged a bullet. Had I been more receptive or less cautious, he may have drawn me into his web of drugs and lies, and ruined my future. Sometimes I do feel bad for Dale, but honestly it's his own dumbass fault. But I do hope that he someday turns his life around. I know John and I never officially met, but as far as online communications go, I hope I never encounter this deranged man again.
Number 2. 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2 . 2
Last December, late one night out of boredom, I decided to venture onto a site called Omegle. Normally whenever I went into chat rooms it was to troll people, but tonight I wanted to actually have some conversations with people under the anime tag. I eventually found someone, we'll call her Azula, who asked me what my favorite anime was. I jokingly replied, Fat Albert. A conversation ensued about anime, and she seemed like a genuinely decent person. She then asked me for my email. I gave her my spam email knowing that there's no real harm in giving that out, and we continued our chat on a Google Plus Hangout. She eventually asked to video chat. I declined, telling her that I didn't even video chat with people I knew, but she continued to persist. I started to suspect that maybe she was actually some kind of deranged pedophile. I told her that I didn't feel comfortable revealing my face to anyone online. She replied that she would send me a picture of her face if I sent her a picture of mine, so I let her send hers first. As soon as the picture came in, I did a reverse image search to see if the photo was legit, and no results came back, so reluctantly, I took a picture of myself and sent it to her, figuring that it couldn't do any harm. Upon receiving my pic, she started persisting harder than ever before for a video chat, and I kept telling her no. I turned my computer off out of annoyance and decided to block her the next day. The following day when I started up my computer, she messaged me immediately. I was instantly concerned by that, figuring that she was either deliberately stalking me or had absolutely no life and was at her computer all day. She apologized to me for being so pushy and explained to me that she didn't have many friends and she just wanted to get to know me. We continued to talk about anime and video games and such, and it was a normal enough conversation for me. The next day we spoke again, and she wanted to video chat. I sort of relented a little bit and told her that I would voice chat, since I was a little bit more comfortable with that. Once we were in the voice call, she turned on her camera and kept slightly pushing me to turn on my camera. I was too meek to resist for long, so reluctantly, I turned my camera on. After that, I noticed a change in her voice and demeanor, but I figured that she was just socially awkward. But to be fair, so was I to an extent. Things were okay for a few weeks, until one day, she randomly told me that she had a crush on me. I told her that I didn't do online relationships. She then proceeded to act really depressed. She told me about how every guy she had ever felt a connection with had turned her down. I didn't really know what to say at this point. I felt bad for her because I knew what it felt like to be rejected, and how awkward it was to stay friends with them afterwards. So I made one of the dumbest mistakes of my life. I said that I had a crush on her as well. Keep in mind that I was 14, and extremely naive at this point. So just to recap, I basically just fell into a pressured, fake online relationship. I didn't consider her to be my girlfriend, and barely any of my other friends even knew about her existence. On that topic, one day Azula and I were in a group chat with some of my other friends, but after I left, I was informed later by my friend Eric that Azula started asking him really personal questions about me. Things like my address, my full name, and other aspects of my personal life. He told her that she should just ask me about that kind of stuff. I thought it was really strange that she would ask him about these questions. Knowing that I would hear about it eventually, Azula started getting very persistent with me, and she wouldn't stop asking me personal questions directly, even if I declined. Finally, she just goes on Facebook and looks through everyone's profile with the same first name as me. I couldn't believe it. She literally spent days trying to find my Facebook page. I had never seen such dedication, and red flags were definitely going up at this point. She eventually found my Facebook page and sent me a friend request. I declined it because I was very pissed off at her invading my privacy. In response, she started messaging me on Google, asking me about family members and friends on my Facebook. She literally wrote down a list of them all, asking them how they were related to me. I got really scared at this point. I knew I had a stalker and I didn't know what to do. I decided just to purge and block her on everything. She eventually emails me on a different email address, which I have no idea how she acquired. and she spammed me with countless messages per day. I blocked her. I didn't hear from her again for about a month. One day, out of curiosity, I went back through the trash folder and uncovered literally hundreds of emails from her, a few of them having been delivered that very day. I read some of them, and she confessed to me that something was definitely wrong with her, because she enjoyed stalking people online. She knew it was an obsession, but she couldn't fight it. She reminded me that she knew where I lived and was going to eventually book a flight and come live with me. I was honestly worried that she was intending to kill me. I deleted that email account and have been off the grid ever since. I'm still worried to this day that this situation isn't completely behind me.
Number 3.
I'm an uninteresting man in my late 20s with a stable job and a happy family. I had never once entertained the notion that I might one day be the target of a stalker. So here's my story as a warning to everyone. You don't have to be a typical pretty young lady to catch the eye of a stalker. I don't know if this makes sense, but I am a habitual yet very casual Facebook user. I don't post a lot, but I do check my newsfeed often. One Saturday night, I was doing a quick round on Facebook before I went to bed when I received a friend request. I accepted it without hesitation. Just about every friend request I receive gets accepted because I don't ever post anything very personal. As I said, I have a very casual approach to social networking. I do a quick glance on the profile that had friended me and saw that it was obviously a fake account. Not thinking much about it, I put my computer away and fell asleep. The next day, I was having lunch at a friend's house, having completely forgotten about the friend request from the night before. My phone buzzed and I saw I had gotten a message from a coworker of mine, Maya. Although Maya and I worked together and had a few mutual friends outside of work, we didn't communicate much other than when it was about work. I checked it, assuming it was work-related, and I guess, looking back, you can say it was. To get the gist of it, the Facebook account that friended me also friended Maya, and had bombarded her with insults and accusations of being a whore and a slut, and every other name in the book. The person took it a step further by messaging Maya's husband, saying that she was cheating on him with a coworker. Maya wanted to know if I knew who the person was. I explained to her how I accepted every friend request and had no idea who it was. I then proceeded to unfriend the profile in question. Maya explained to me that she already had suspicions on who it was and just wanted to see if I could confirm it. Let's rewind back a few weeks earlier. I had received a friend request from Carrie. It struck me as odd because although we worked at the same place, we never actually met, never spoken, or even made eye contact within 20 feet of each other. We worked in different departments, but I had to walk through her department to get to our lounge. That was the furthest extent of our interactions. I only learned her name when she friended me on Facebook and I recognized her picture. I'm not sure how she found out my name. Carrie also friended my wife's profile and subsequently started sifting through my wife's posts and photos, liking and commenting on several of them. She began interacting with my posts as well, as though we were good friends. At work though, I would still walk by as usual and still no interaction. I found it odd, but I didn't think much of it. The mysterious Facebook account continued to harass Maya until she told the person that she knew it was Carrie and was going to call the police. I thought that was the end of that, but I was very wrong. Over several weeks, I began getting more friend requests from girls looking to hook up with me. Obviously, I knew they were all fake, and for the most part, I ignored them. I also began getting notifications from my Google and Facebook accounts about suspicious activity on my profile. Most of the time, it warned me of failed login attempts. One I specifically remember said my Facebook account was actually logged in from somewhere unusual and asked me whether or not it was me. It wasn't me, and I should have been more concerned, but for some reason I didn't care, which was stupid, and even after that I didn't bother to change my password. At the time, I viewed all these activities as random, isolated incidents. I had no valuable information on my account, and didn't have any private secretive messages. So what harm could a potential hacker do? A few months passed when one day, My wife gets a message from Carrie stating that she had a high-end video camera and was looking to start some amateur filming. She wanted to know if we would help her by letting her film our family for a day. Remembering what Maya had said months ago, I was reluctant but wanted to give Carrie the benefit of the doubt, so we agreed to tell her that we would schedule a time for whenever we weren't busy, and left it at that. Once again, I have yet to actually meet Carrie. More weeks pass by and we completely forget about scheduling the film shoot with Carrie when she messages me about it. I apologize about forgetting about it, and turned her down when she asked to reschedule, suddenly feeling very uneasy about the whole thing. Then things got weird. She sent several gifs of stick figures doing sexually suggestive motions. I didn't respond, so she asked, "Funny, isn't it?" I immediately texted my wife to log into my Facebook profile to observe the messages. Not wanting to be rude, I agreed with Carrie as of the humor of the gifs, and carried on the conversation. She proceeded to send me old photos from my abandoned MySpace account that I had completely forgotten about. It was around this time when MySpace had been revamped, and people lost a lot of cherished memories. Somehow she dug mine up and decided to share them with me. Things escalated quickly from there. She began talking about her body and how she wasn't attractive, trying to bait me into complimenting her looks. She wasn't beautiful at all in the traditional sense, but she wasn't exactly hard to look at. I wasn't falling for it though. Then she hit me with something out of the blue. She asked me about my cock, and suggesting that it was probably really big. I decided that that was enough and stopped responding. Of course my wife was reading the whole time, and we were texting back and forth about how funny and weird this all was. I continued to go to work and still awkwardly never actually met her. I especially didn't want to strike up any conversations after that. Carrie messaged me one final time asking me for a favor. Maya had blocked her profile, and Carrie suspected that Maya was saying bad stuff about her, so she wanted me to check her profile to confirm. I told her that I wasn't going to spy on Maya for her, and that was that. Just between us though, I did check, and no, Maya couldn't care less to waste her time talking about Carrie. Around this time, my wife got a text from an unknown number. The person knew her name and was trying to remain anonymous, and was also trying to flirt with her. We were with a bunch of friends at the time, and we all thought it would be funny if we all text flirted with this person. Once again, I never thought to connect any of these occurrences. Carrie eventually quit work, and I continued to get suspicious activity that I stupidly continued to write off. I had pretty much forgotten all about Carrie. Then I would say over a year later, my wife drops a bomb on me. A good friend of ours started texting my wife, saying that I was sending very inappropriate messages on Facebook. I had been busy running errands all day, and hadn't really checked my Facebook at the time. I found that my password had been changed, and when I finally logged back on, all my messages had been cleared. I had no idea the extent of what happened, until I started hearing from more people that I was being very suggestive and nasty to them. The thing was, these were not random women on my friends list that were targeted. These were women that were close to me, good friends, my wife's sisters, and my friends' wives. These messages weren't holding back either. They went all out in graphic detail about what I wanted to do to them. I felt completely violated and humiliated. I couldn't imagine how the women felt. My wife and I were really close to our families and friends, and every other week or so, all of our friends would get together and drink, barbecue, watch movies or sports, and hang out. We've had several families over and never had a problem. All of them said they understood what happened, and that they knew it wasn't me. Deep inside though, I could see that they felt that it probably, potentially, possibly was me. Over time, more and more of them stopped coming over, to the point where my home started to feel empty. I confided in my wife about how I felt that they thought it was me, and she rebutted that I was being paranoid. She argued that our friends were just busy with their lives, and they would eventually come over again. I learned that someone had created a Facebook account using my name and picture, and continued harassing the same women. Some of them posted a picture of the conversations with me on Facebook. She commented that it really could be me, because that mystery person talked just like me, using the same vocabulary. She also stated that the person knew my friends and family extensively. My heart instantly shattered after reading that. I quit checking my Facebook for the longest time, and I guess I fell into a mild depression. I felt miserable. I told my wife that I wanted to disappear, and strongly considered quitting my job of 7 years and moving away to start over. I know now that I was being quite irrational, and thankfully my wife stayed strong for me through it all. I felt I needed to defend my honor, and started gathering alibis of times, people, and places I was around during the time of many of those messages. My wife brutally told me that she couldn't believe I was weak enough to let a no-life dumbass on Facebook put me down and make me feel that way. Which was true. I am and always have been a mentally strong person. I always look for the best in a bad situation. But for some reason this affected me differently. I can't explain why, but I felt extreme shame and guilt for something I didn't even do. Without my wife's support knocking me back to reality, I don't know what would have happened. We advised our friends to just ignore the person, and eventually everything stopped. From time to time I still get random friend requests, but I don't accept them anymore. I don't have any proof that this was all the work of Carrie. It just all happened during a time when she injected herself into my life. My friends have started coming over again, but it hasn't felt the same ever since. I don't know if it's them or just in my head. My wife and I came to the conclusion that Carrie reveled in the misery of others. After tormenting Maya, she moved on and targeted me, trying to ruin my marriage and distance me from my friends. And she did this for no reason other than the fact that she enjoyed doing it. I'm pretty sure she hasn't stopped and left me alone only because she found a new victim to harass.
There's always a reason to be afraid.